Hi, my name is Jennifer Jones, and I'm the founder and executive director of Hagar's Heart. Hagar's Heart supports, educates, and empowers domestic violence survivors through self-care initiatives and programs that we provide. And this is Hagar's Heart.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Talk for 10 podcast. I am Eric Neal. I'm with my wife, Paige Neal, and we are at Hagar's Heart this week for our Community Leaders Edition. What is it about Hagar's Heart that's so important?
Well, I think a lot of people don't realize the impact that Jennifer is making on the community by reaching out and helping with self-love and helping people in domestic violence situations. A lot of times we have preconceived notions on what these people look like, and we don't understand who needs help. And so I think she just offers up an olive branch for people to get more help.
Well, let's hear from Jennifer Jones herself.
Today, we're out at Hagar's Heart with Jennifer Jones, and she is the founder of this organization. So, Jennifer, tell us a little bit about your background prior to this organization.
Yeah, okay. So, born a teacher, didn't matter. I have, everybody marries a teacher in my family, and everybody grows up. Grew up, just a normal person, and say a normal person, normal kid, did sports, did different things. But as I look back on my life, was always feeling like I needed to do more to make sure everything didn't explode. And then in the finale of everything of this cycle of abuse is the explosion. I think what's really interesting, as I've learned, there is no time limit, but what ends up happening depending on where you are in your relationship, it will either continue the same speed. In my situation, it went, maybe a few months to a few weeks to every week. And so at that point, I thought, that was what marriage was to me. And I believed that I had made a promise and covenant before God, and I just stayed there, not recognizing that. I was lucky because I could escape. I knew when it was safe to come back. And, I think that's the biggest thing too, is while I did experience physical abuse, it was more the words and the demeaning of, well, I can't believe you did this, or hearing the same thing of, it's not going to happen again. I didn't realize until, and it wasn't me who filed for divorce. He left me.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was one of those things that God knew what I needed, even though I didn't. He was wrecking my life at that point because in my mind I had done everything right. And as I look back now, I see how everything was the perfect path. But in that time when I thought I've done everything is when I read about Hagar in the Bible. I was angry. I was mad. I didn't want to talk to anybody. But it was Genesis 16:13 where I read Hagar, who I connected with because she ran away from things. She had done everything right, but was abused and was taken advantage of. And in Genesis 16:13, she finally realizes that she can be who she is and that she is seen for Hagar. So I taught for 20 years, but in 2018, I also read about Hagar. It became really evident I needed to leave education, that this was not my calling anymore. And when you have an early childhood degree and a reading master's, not a whole lot of people who, we need an early childhood person, right? And so really kind of went into probably just a deep trying to understand what was I made for? And at that point, my life had really changed, but I understood and read again about Hagar that in Genesis 16:13, not only was I seen, but I was seen not because I was an educator, not because I was a mom or a divorced woman, but I was seen for me and my purpose. But yeah, so in 2018, that's when the idea of Hagar's Heart began. And then 2020, what hit me was the lockdown and those who could not escape, that were stuck with the abuse. And that resonated with me because I had not admitted to anyone that I was a survivor because I still didn't think I was. But when I started Hagar's Heart and started giving to these women and learning, I realized that words were just as hard as everything else. And so as things happen in trauma, you're in a survivor mode. I just need to get out here. I just need to wait a few more minutes. You're not really thinking about what's actually happening as it's happening.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I mean, so going back to your story, because, we have this perception of what domestic violence and the people in domestic violence, what they look like, right? And you talk about you were married, you had a good family, everybody saw that you had a nice house, you had the perfect life, and, you were educated, like, how didn't she catch on to this? And then in the end, like you said, you were willing to stay.
Yeah. It's interesting, the idea that people have. And, I was always, as the teacher for the underdog. I was always, people had no problem telling me, a kindergartner can't do that. Well, that's all I needed to take the challenge.
Yeah.
We're going to show you how. Because I don't think we know what anyone can do. A lot of too with our ICU box, because of my education background, everything is very much brain-based. Statistics are that a survivor or a victim will go back to their abuser 7 times before they finally leave. And I had a safe place and I don't know how many times, but it was a lot more than 7.
Yeah.
So it's like working on the situation, but I think a lot of it has to do with fear, with shame. And then, like I said, you feel insane sometimes. Like, oh, did I make this up? I mean, he's making it sound like, or she's making it sound like I really didn't. I've spoken with men as well who have gone to the police station, filed reports on their wife, only to come back and be arrested because a policeman looked at him and said, she's too small. She couldn't have done that. It's you who did it.
So tell us, you have an event coming up, and if someone is in need, how do they get in touch with you?
So Carry the Joy is a fun event because I love hospitality and it needs to be fun. And yes, we want people to give money. But it's also a time to explain what we do and to explain and teach people who are like, wow, and I hear that a lot. Never heard of that, but it's to raise funds for our ICU boxes. It's to raise funds for our other programs because everything we do is about self-care. And you don't have to be in trauma to not understand self-care.
Yeah.
And so Carry the Joy is on April 5th. It's going to be Yellowstone edition.
Okay.
So whether you love the mountains of Montana or you just watch the finale in Beth Dutton, it's going to be fun. And it's going to be a time where we're really going to break down, we know domestic violence happens, but we're going to really break down why this little box is a box of dignity, love, and respect.
Well, I hate to say I enjoyed this.
I know.
I learned so much. And you do, again, you see people and they keep going back to the situation and you always try to say, what is wrong with them? Right? But you never know what someone's going through. And even kids, a lot of times the bad behaviors that they have at school are prompted by something that's at the house. So I think it's incredible what you're doing. It really touches my heart.
1 in 3 women are affected by domestic violence in Texas, which roughly in the Dallas-Fort Worth area is about 1.2 million. We love partnering with One Safe Place because it's a place where you can walk in. They make sure that you have what works for you. And as a survivor, what I've learned is that no survivor is the same. No survivor needs the same thing.
So I hope you enjoyed our episode today with Jennifer Jones at Hagar's Heart. We learned a lot of things that touched my heart personally. And if you are looking for something to donate to or really get behind, this is a great program that touches not only women, but also men that are suffering from domestic violence.
Yeah, so let's make a difference in your community by reaching out to your local leaders, your local places and people that's doing good in the community. Help them out because they need it. So we're going to close by showing some shirts we got from Hagar's Heart. So again, thank you so much for subscribing. Also remember, like, share, make a comment.
Thanks, Jennifer, for our shirts.
We'll see you next week.